Local pizza shop has a big cooler of 2 liters in the customer waiting area. Mind you, if you're facing the cooler, the register is directly behind you. I'd ordered a couple pizzas to pick up on the way home from work, and when I walked in, I grabbed a 2 liter and set it in the counter. The manager very loudly states, "Sir, read the sign. Do not touch the cooler. An employee will retrieve a 2 liter when you want one." I turn around and there is no sign on the cooler. Then I notice the 3x5 note card taped flat on the counter that reads exactly what the manager just said, verbatim. That means an employee would have to walk around the counter, through the customer waiting area, get the 2 liter, and walk back to register if someone wants one. The fact that the sign was a note card taped flat to the counter, which would be impossible for anyone to see unless they were already paying, how loudly the manager decided to exclaim I should read the sign, and how annoying it was after working a 10-hour shift, I decided on a whim to get my petty revenge. I'm probably a bit of an a-hole, but him being the manager, he should put the sign on the door of the cooler, where people can see it. It got under my skin. I paid for my pizza and soda and started to leave. Then I turned around and said, "Hey, ick, now what? I'm on the way to a party with this pizza, but I'm also in charge of drinks. Let me get 10 2 liters. UHH, 3 Pepsi, 2 Diet Pepsi, 2 Mountain Dew, a Diet Dew, an orange soda and a ginger ale." The manager looks at me incredulously, but he just told me I have to let him get it, so he really didn't have a choice. He had to make 4 trips to get it all, and I just waited, smirking. On the last trip I said, "Let me put my pizzas in the car. I can't get all this in one trip. Be right back." He stood there watching through the glass storefront as I went out to the car, got in, started my car, and pulled away. Sweet, petty revenge. Okay, at one time I was working 2 jobs to support a then wife and new baby. Parking was scarce because the building was downtown, but being #2, the boss and I had assigned free spaces. Because of the layout of the building being on a corner, the spaces were end to end, 2 spaces in length only. My boss took the one furthest back as he was opening and closing whilst I parked in front of him. No other parking in front of me, period, just no room. Winter, very cold. Everyone wants to park as close as possible. I went down one afternoon to leave for my second job and there was a full-size 1-ton van parked 6 inches off my nose. No one in it. Private van? Tradesman's van? If so, no phone hash on it. Called my second job, "Boss, I'm late and this is why." "No problem." I left a nice courteous note on the van windshield, "Please don't park here. This is not a parking space. You haven't a pass and you've blocked me in," and went back in to stay warm. Come out once in a while, until about 2 hours later, it was gone. Off I went on my merry way. 2 days later, there it is again. Same van, same spot. Okay, I'm not going to be late again. Started up my old FJ40, put it into low first gear, nosed up to the van, got out to make sure bumpers matched, got back in, got a slow back and forth roll going with it, and then with a little judicious throttle, shoved it backwards about 50 feet up to the large 30 commercial dumpster. Enough it moved a bit also, its tires chirping all the way. Backed up, took the FJ out of low FWD and left. Never an issue after that. I travel quite a bit for my job. I'm an English as a second language teacher. Every summer we get a group of college kids who are studying education that come to teach with us. This year we got a bunch of guys from the same fraternity. They were a little loud and drank too much. They constantly break things, but a lot of that is expected from young adults that age. The thing I could do without is all the jokes and pranks. They teach the high school students bad words and then ask them to go say it to one of the full-time teachers. They think it's hilarious, even after it's the 800th time. The part that is particularly rude is that they waste food in their pranks. We teach in a very poor country. Most of the students only get a full meal at school. They smash cupcakes in each other's faces, or will flick a spoonful of food at someone. The owner of our school asked that one of the classrooms be cleaned out and stripped of all furniture. A volunteer group was coming to paint it. Everything was to be moved to storage. I went into the break room, and the frat boys were all set to work for the day. I say, Mr. Boss wants all of the items in storage to be moved to this classroom by weekend close. They spent the entire day moving things in. Boss came back and was furious. The students blamed me. Mr. Boss said, why in the hell would you think he would say something like that? Move this stuff back to storage and bring the class furniture in too. He grinned a huge grin at me as he walked out. We got everything prepped and ready in time for painting. My boss nudged me and said, you are such an a-hole, but at least everyone will get some sleep tonight. They are too tired and sorta stay up all night. This is my father's story and it's always made me laugh. For a few years, my dad worked in an admin office for a very non-admin line of work. Most of the people in this office were district chiefs and other types of management officers. Forget the animosity. It was 20 years ago when he was a captain for the fire department in a major US city. When a new officer, whom we'll call Don Thinskin, joined the building, he wanted to establish his authority and promised to make his people walk the line while making a ridiculous motion with his hands making a line. Now, firefighters follow the chain of command, but when a supervisor is a prick, they tend to fight back in fun ways. But in the new office Don was attempting to dominate. He had no subordinates, just coworkers, so there was absolutely no hesitation to mess with the man. Don Thinskin had a beloved deluxe office chair, so his coworkers began to teach him a lesson about humility. Monday, his favorite chair had been swapped out for a standard chair. Don was not pleased and screamed he wanted his chair back. Tuesday, his chair was back, but the casters' wheels were missing. Screaming followed. Wednesday, the casters were back, but the chair was missing again. No screaming, but he demanded his chair be put back together. Thursday, on the ground, was a photo of his chair. Not pleased, but made her chuckle, and kindly asked for his chair back. Friday, his chair was back with a note saying play nice. Next week he was a different kinda man. My dad claims he did not participate in the fun, but somehow I don't believe him. I have worked at my job for 12 years. Over that time, I have been given exactly one raise, 50 cents an hour more, and that is only after I asked for it. They wanted to add on to my responsibilities, so I asked for more. The owner just doesn't think the accounting department is important. On to the revenge. I send out a lot of ups envelopes. There are no exact instructions for this, but I've sent less important items or things that don't need to be there as soon as possible, slower and less expensive ways. Just to be nice and save the owner money. But if he doesn't want to give me a raise, I'm sending everything one day overnight. It's not against the rules, so I'm not even doing anything wrong. This will add about $150 a week to their shipping charges. I've also started looking for a new job. This happened years ago, when I was 18, and it was the summer before starting university. I was working at Hot Potato. I was a responsible employee, always on time, sometimes working extra hours, because they were short staff. One of the managers was always on a bad mood and she used to be a bully to me. She was fat and big, while I was super skinny and tiny. She used to request the heaviest duties from me, to carry heavy boxes, to move huge pots filled with boiling content from one place to another, to mop the floor in the middle of the rush with a mop that was twice my size, etc. I never made a big deal about it. I never complained, and did everything she asked for. Time passed by, and I was moving to another town, so I resigned. By the end of my last week, after my last day, I went to the place to pick up my check. My aunt gave me a ride and was waiting for me on the parking lot. The manager that was in, but to me was on her desk and told me that she wasn't able to give me my check cause I needed a resigning letter that had to be done in computer and signed by me. She told me that in a horrible tone, like she used to talk to me. I had no computer by that time and I really needed that money. So I went back to my aunt's and told her that I needed to make a letter in a computer in order to get my check. I knew my aunt worked at Labor Department, but I was not aware of her power until that day. She told me, "Don't worry, you will get your check now." She put her Labor Department card on and walked with me back to the fast food. I was speechless. She asked for the manager. Once she was out, my aunt showed her her credentials and told her that it was illegal to keep my work money from me and to request a letter. That woman got pale as a glass of milk. I still remember her shaking hands trying to reach my check on her drawers. My aunt was saying things in a loud tone about how abusive she was etc. My eyes could not believe what was going on. My aunt took my check and walked to the door. I was still froze. She told me let's go. Then I reacted and walked behind her. When I was at the door, looked back and gave the manager the middle finger. I have never feel more satisfied. Thanks God, I've never seen her again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like and a comment would mean a lot in YouTube's world. Share with us if you would have done things differently. And don't forget to support the original authors with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out and catch you tomorrow.